All right. Call this meeting to order. Expecting anyone else? What we got?
Who are we missing?
Well, Glenn, I'm not sure.
Okay,
He's coming, I don't know.
well, he comes here. So first order is to approve the minutes from April 14th.
So moved. Yes, thank you, John.
Second. All right, all in favor? Okay, so this is our public meeting. So his first question is, will we have any comments from members of the public? There we go. All right, well, seeing none, let's move on to the LCS budget. I do not have it in front of me. But it's in my other copy.
Didn't we get that stuff? Wasn't it in here?
Is that?
No, that's the budget.
Oh,
Yeah.
Where are we starting?
In the beginning, well, let's start with the,
Start in the beginning.
well, what do you think? You want to start with cost centers? That's what usually do when I go through every,
Are we just discussing them or?
no, we're actually voting to approve, make recommendations. So would be,
Is it the 414 one?
yes, would be right.
That one. What's it on?
I'll center one.
So we want probably the summary page here, the proposed summary. We see this one right here.
Mhm.
Use that. All right. So. Coming down here.
Get your glasses.
Get my glasses. So my new hurts. I can't see. To start with, you guys okay with just going through cost centers and getting motion?
Sure.
So cost center one, regular instruction. Do I have a motion on that?
So I make a motion that we approve the budget of 5.276 million.
Well, that's the full budget. You want
That's
to,
full budget.
we could go full budget, or you want to do cost centers. What do you guys
Let's
think?
do cross.
Let's usually do it. So it would be right here.
Okay, $2,044,629.70.
Regular instruction. Do we hear a second?
So the actual articles, I don't know if Dave gave you guys the article.
Do we have it here?
Or not.
Yeah.
The article was not 2 million.
Okay, let's go through different one now, all right?
I'm gonna say, I did notice there was a slight discrepancy.
Oh, here it is.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, okay, well, there we are.
So when we wrote the warrant article.
Well, we could go withdraw and do another one.
I'm sorry, what was the 6 extra?
Look, but it was a change in insurance for somebody in Boston.
Oh,
So do you want to do the really corrected one?
Sure, so the amount of the motion is $2,050,264.
Here a second.
I'll second.
Any discussion on that?
Well, I think we need to.
These numbers.
This is the negotiated contract for the teachers.
Okay, so the budget that we reviewed is showing $6,000 less, and we're saying there's a discrepancy because the insurance cost is increased.
Correct, and so when I wrote the warrant articles, I made sure that the warrant articles, reflected the actual final budget. When we were here a couple weeks ago, we were reviewing the proposed budget.
Any other questions on that?
Are there other? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, no. Are there gonna be other items that are different within the warrants?
The majority of the. Either up or down.
Is there a new printed out budget? To look at?
No, I wasn't told I needed to bring that. I thought that the warrant articles and the proposed summary that I have in front of me before they look like they have the same numbers. But
A little bit different on cost center two. Like, Looks like
Yeah, I
$700.
don't have the draft
Yeah.
necessarily that you have in front of you.
Right.
I'm just a little concerned because there's 11 warrants plus the overall budget, and if we're talking estimate of a little. The first one's $6,000, so potentially. We're talking 60 to upwards thousand.
The warrant articles add up to the appropriated amounts that are asked for in Articles 13 and 14.
And it's total. It's so the total budget is about $400 more. Yeah. So yeah, it's about $400 increase in this budget versus our proposed budget.
Oh, yeah.
Do you feel like that's something we want to come back to? As far as,
I mean, the explanation insurance, I mean, insurance is expensive, I mean, I don't know what we can discuss about that would make that difference, so.
that's for my thought.
Yeah.
$248, okay, my math is wonderfully safe. Should ask the banker.
My concern is not with the one warrant, my concern is with multiple warrants being different than what was being reviewed.
But that's the total difference in the entire budget.
$240.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what the changes that have happened since the proposed budget from a couple weeks ago.
Well, Lori, I just went down for the first few articles. The first one is, what we're to vote on is 6,000 more than we saw last time.
Mhm.
And the second one is 1,000 more. Article 4 is the same. Article 5 is 4,000 less.
Love that, this is good.
Yeah, and I think there's and number 6 is 6,000 less.
Okay.
So they're sort of canceling themselves, but I didn't go all the way. Yeah, so it may not be terrible.
Before we go much further, is there any article here that isn't set in stone? Is this what we're
No,
gonna be
this-
getting?
The warrant articles reflect the adopted budgets by the school. So at that point, I don't have the freedom now to
Okay.
change those. So those warrant articles reflect what the school.
Any other questions on that? Okay. So there's a motion, it's been moved, seconded? Seconded, any more discussion? Okay. Seeing none, all in favor? Approving? Amount above? Okay. Moving on to Article 2, to see what sum the town will be authorized to expend for special education. School committee recommends amount of $1,290,992.
So moved.
Second. Okay. Discussion on special education. Okay, all in favor? Article 3, see what sum the town will be authorized to expend for career and technical education, which as we're our pre-K 8 school, zero amount.
Make a motion to accept that one.
Thank you, Jared. I'll second that. All in favor? Article 4, to see what sum the town will be authorized to expend on other instruction. School committee recommends amount of $61,345.
Make the motion, we approve $61,345.
A second,
Second.
discussion?
Yeah, to pick up on just very briefly. So I went down and I finished them out to 11.
Mhm.
And total is, we're adding, if we vote tonight, we're adding 6, 7, we're adding 8,
Okay,
but we're 10 less.
I don't think that's
8
accurate.
up, 10 down, so and I'm only rounding numbers, I'm ignoring all the hundreds.
If-
I mean, it's gonna be very close.
my banker mind doesn't work like that.
Yeah. Yeah,
But yes, it's very close. It's
Yeah.
$250.
Yeah.
All right, any other discussion? All in favor? Okay. Article 5, to see what sum the town will be authorized to expend for student and staff support. School committee recommends an amount of $456,693. $456,693.
Make a motion, we accept the $456,693.
Second.
Second. Discussion? All in favor? Article 6, to see what sum the town will be authorized to expend for system administration. School committee recommends an amount of $255,130.
Make a motion, we accept the $255,130. Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Article 7, to see what sum the town will be authorized to expend for school administration. School committee recommends an amount of $302,855.
I make a motion, we accept $302,855 for school administration.
Second. Discussion? All in favor? Article 8, to see what sum the town will be authorized to expend for transportation buses. School committee recommends $337,943.
Make a motion, we approve $337,943 for transportation. Second.
Discussion?
Is this part of was this a new contract this year or continuation of the previous contract?
Less, yeah, so this is the first year.
And this year we reduced the number of routes.
Yes, we did. So this reflects going from 3 buses down to 2 buses.
And when is the cutoff for the special education transportation? I know. We budgeted $75,000 increase for that, and that's the only reason I'm asking.
By cut off, I'm not sure. What do you mean by a cut off?
I guess there isn't one, right? If one moved in mid-year, you have to do that, so,
You get a new IEP.
okay.
But is that contract, the 3 students that we have that we're paying the transportation for, is that contracted? So that's set currently at 75? So this is an increase from last year, even though we went down a full route.
Yes, and mostly that's reflected, as we talked about a couple of weeks ago, it's reflected in increase of the number of 5 transportations we have to provide.
And I'm just curious, how many bids did you get on the buses?
We just got a bit from Loose. We haven't tried
Just,
going up to, I think there's a group called First Student.
oh, yeah.
Some routes and said.
Yeah.
We didn't ask for it. Well, I don't, it may have been bidded up to that last year. I don't know. I wasn't here.
Sorry, that's caused me to have additional questions now. So Loose was the only bid for the general transportation or the special needs?
The special needs, there are very few, there are essentially no. Provider that's in the area is the provider we get the contract from. I don't know about Luce's contract last year. I didn't negotiate it. This was the first year of it, so I don't know if in that process other bids were.
In the past, there's when I was more involved, there's one, the school had one choice. No way, no one else respond.
I don't know it.
No,
Which is the others for the large private.
Yes. I'm just saying in the past there, I remember one example, there was only one company that responded to the request.
Right.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? All right, all in favor? Okay. Article 9, to see what sum the town will be authorized to expend for facilities maintenance. School committee recommends $398,588.
The motion, we approve $398,588 for maintenance.
Second. Discussion?
I'll second.
We are.
Already got it.
Oh,
Come on, Joe.
see,
Yeah. And this is one I think that we certainly wish there was extra money to put in a contingency fund, but right now it doesn't look like there is. All in favor? Article 10, to see what sum the town will be authorized to expend for debt service and other commitments. School committee recommends $97,657.
Make a motion, we approve $97,657 for debt service.
Second,
Discussion on that one?
That loan is for 8 years, if I remember correctly, or 9 years. It was a long time.
I heard
I'm
eight.
thinking, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right, I can tell.
I think it's for 7 years.
Okay.
Yeah, it sounds right to me.
I can't recall the actual term.
I'm just gonna be transparent. I am not voting for this warrant because the taxpayers were not given the opportunity to vocalize their opinion prior to this being done.
All right, any other discussion? All in favor? Okay. And Article 11, to see what sum the town will be authorized to expend for all other expenditures. School committee recommends $25,000.
Make a motion, we approve $25,000 for other expenditures.
Second,
Discussion? All in favor? Okay, Article 12, shall the town of Lincolnville appropriate $3,372,567, the total cost of funding public education from pre-K to grade 8 as described in the Essential Program Services Funding Act, and shall the town of Lincolnville raise $2,726,000 as a town's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from pre-K to grade 8 as described, Central Programs and Services Funding Act in accordance with the Maine Revised Statutes, Title 20A, Section 15688. School committee recommends yes on both. Appropriating $3,372,467 and raising $2,726,000.
Make a motion, we approve Article 12 as read.
Are we doing 12 and 13 together or just 12?
It's 12.
Okay.
Second,
I'll second.
discussion on that?
Just a question. We don't really have a choice, do we? I mean, when the state has withdrawn those funds, do we really have?
They always have a choice. As Dave would say.
At this moment?
I mean, it would certainly be challenging, but yeah. All in favor? And Article 13, which would be as a written ballot, to see what sum the town of Lincolnville will raise to appropriate additional local funds. Recommended $1,904,000, which exceeds state central program services allocation model by recommended $1,879,000 as required to fund the budget recommended by the school committee. School committee recommends raising and appropriating $1,904,000 additional local funds, which exceeds EPS by $1,879,000. So we can read the explanation. You guys can read that. I'll read that. School committee gives the following reasons for exceeding the state's essential programs services funding model by $1,879,000. The essential programs and services funding model does not recognize all educational costs, such as all special education costs, extracurricular and co-curricular costs. The additional local funds are those locally raised funds over and above the town's local contribution to the total cost of funding public education from pre-K to grade 8 as described in the Essential Programs and Servicing Funding Act, and local amounts raised for annual payments on a non-state funded debt service that will help achieve the town budget for educational programs.
Make a motion, we approve Article 13 as read.
We have a second?
second,
Second. Discussion?
All right,
Zero.
I'll be honest, little disappointed this year. I was kind of hoping for a smaller budget. We paid off some debt service last year. We didn't fill some headcount this year, but yet the budget is essentially the same. So the budget, yes, is the same, but the amount that we're spending in the school has increased dramatically again. 3 years ago, 400,000, 2 years ago, 400,000. Now you're looking at 300,000 plus. We can't maintain that increase year over year over year. And this was brought up last year, where do we start looking at these things? And we have to say, okay, we've reached the limit of what we can get out of the taxpayers of Lincoln. And we have to look at something different. And that's all I'm gonna say on that. But I know next year that we're gonna be having these meetings, and the head count that we didn't fill next year is gonna be coming up next year saying, okay, we need to fill those again. And that's gonna be another increase. I'm very concerned that the budget didn't go down with the amount of money that we cut out of it this year.
And I would like to respond to that by saying, of course, the amount in our debt service was being paid for by the state. So that's no different from a budget. I would also just add from my perspective, I don't think anyone's budget is going down. And hopefully people's salaries aren't going down. I certainly get annoyed in mine does, but but the hope is, usually, the teachers get paid more year upon year. Things cost more, transportation fuel costs more. But yeah, if we're going to look at a budget that's actually going down instead of increasing or moderately increasing, you're looking at some decisions which would really affect our school and our students.
Our budget has gone down. This budget is a reduction from last year. The state reduced the money they contribute this year compared to last year. So it is costing taxpayers more. And we did our best to cut back, and we did not increase this budget, it has been reduced. And our contribution from the state has been reduced also, so that also.
And I'm looking to your point, at the first slide last time we met, and it says budget decreased by 51,993 at that time.
Yeah.
Now it might be a little lower. I mean, a little more of a decrease by 2,000.
So I guess I'm confused on the debt service, because we had a warrant last year where we forgot the debt service and we had to put out a special election to tax the people of Lincolnville to pay for that. So if the state reimburses us for that, does the town get that money or does the school get that money?
It's a wash. It has to be listed as an expense, so it's in your expense budget. But then the state does reimburse that total amount. As I recall, in the last summer, when the warrant articles were written, the article, specifically this article that you're looking at right now, forgot to add that number back in, and so that created that $337,000 hole.
Right, so the question is, when we obviously taxed the town of Lincolnville for that, because we had to have a special election for that. So that did come out of the taxes, correct? No,
No, it was not. Yeah, it was a wash. It was just more of a technical issue. But we had to get a vote because of that. No, okay, what is it?
Last year, the $331,709 was double counted as revenue in the school budget.
Okay,
When that was identified that it was not the appropriate amount of revenue, then the revenue, take up the 331,000 in revenue, which meant you had to go back to the taxpayers to authorize what they had agreed to spend. So it wasn't really an additional, it was validating what they'd already done. But if they hadn't chose to do that, property taxes wouldn't have had what services you had at school, but it certainly would have been better.
okay. Any more discussion? All right. Article 13, all in favor? Finally, Article 14 summarizes proposed school budget. See what town of Lincolnville will authorize the school committee to expend for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2026 and ending June 30th, 2027. The town's contribution to the total cost of public education from pre-K to grade 8, as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act. Local funds for non-state funded school construction projects. Additional local funds for school purposes under Maine Revised Statutes, Title 20A, Section 15690, unexpended balances, tuition receipts, state subsidy, other receipts for the support of schools. School committee recommends an amount of $5,276,467.
The motion we approve Article 14 is read.
Second.
All in favor?
Discussion.
Do we have a discussion?
The only discussion I have on this is if you look at the average tuition for a pre-K through 8th grade in the state of Maine, it is significantly less than the average that we're paying here in Lincoln. Significantly, and I will, depends on where you get the numbers, so I'm not gonna throw them out, but again, concerned with the overall budget and the amount of burden that it's putting on the taxpayers. So,
But we do have probably one of the best.
Number
K-12
two.
Schools, okay, number 2.
Yeah.
In the state, that's
One of the
impressive.
best.
So, people want to live here because it's school, so
Yeah.
that's,
Said number 2 in the state.
yes, according to the recent
Oh,
educational.
And I think also if you look at like the amounts paid across the state, you'll find very different amounts depending on the school. Sometimes
Agreed,
they're very, very little,
Some will be,
and so, if you compare to other schools, and I haven't done it, I've heard the numbers, I couldn't quote them, but I have seen that when you look at comparable schools with the kind of, the kind of results we have, I'm not sure that we're that much higher than most of those schools. I think we're lower than a lot of those schools, but I think it's something that actually look at those numbers. I was just told that by a school board member.
and there was some discussion at the last meeting that the school committee is going to organize a community discussion of eventually maybe merging with Five Town. Did I understand that right?
That's not a decision just this school committee could, I think what I spoke to here with you guys was the desire on my part. Is to come up with a strategic plan. And part of that 5-year plan would be to start to investigate other options in terms of how to organize.
Mhm.
That process, though, is not a fast process. It's a multi-year process and it requires willing partners.
Mhm.
To date, there's been very little interest from the Canada Rockport schools in forming a larger union with Lincolnville. That doesn't mean that reality doesn't change for people, but it's also, I think, an important discussion to have in sort of the format of having a strategic plan, because then you get people's input, because there are downsides to consolidate.
Mhm. And I think you mentioned Five Town is projecting to lose students from 700 something to
It's
5.
not just the high school, but the Canada Rockport schools has been losing students every year in
Okay,
their kindergarten class.
so in 5 years, that could be more favorable to merge.
They could conceivably have a lot more interest, but
Yeah,
that only works for them if your students went to their school.
Mhm.
You wouldn't have it.
And I'd also note that, like, you think about the Five Town budget and how much Lincolnville has say in that Five Town budget, pretty limited. So if we did that, we would lose a lot of, we'd go, and that's what you see in other surrounding towns. They're losing their schools, those schools get shut down, the schools get underfunded, because they really don't have a lot of say, because it's the larger town that gets to decide what's gonna happen. So I'm not, so that's always been an issue, is we like Camden make decisions about what's gonna happen in Lakeville Central.
well, and like Jerry was saying, so we've been having our, our local school and having say, and now we're spending a lot of money.
So those are the balances we gotta make. That's those, some of the questions that come up is like, is Camden gonna care what's happening in Lincolnville if, the majority of the students are in Camden Rockport, like they're still a much bigger school than we are.
I think the bottom line comes down to $5.3 million per year. We should be looking at all options. It may not work out, but it doesn't hurt to look, especially for that amount of money.
Yeah, I would agree, but I also think that's a community-wide discussion.
Mhm.
Yep.
Long-term plan. But yeah.
Okay, further discussion, on Article 14. All in favor? All right. What's up here? Okay, Article 15. In addition to amounts approved in the preceding articles, shall the committee be authorized to expend sums as may be received from federal or state grants or programs or other sources during the fiscal year for school purposes, providing that such grants, programs, or other sources do not require the expenditure of other funds not previously appropriated. School committee recommends a yes vote.
Second.
Discussion?
Is there generally funds that come in during the year for this?
Yeah, so the biggest source of those funds is your special ed funding, which comes from the federal government. When we build the budget, the amount that we're anticipating getting, we remove from the costs of the special ed. So primarily it goes to what's called the Title I.
And my only concern comment, if you will, is obviously the 2023 audit came in. We overspent on that by a sum of money. Would this be used to pay that overexpenditure off, or would it be spent somewhere else and we still have that overpayment to deal with?
We would still have that overpayment. Most grants and receipts like this come with very targeted, and use them for this. And there's not a lot of.
Further discussion? All right, all in favor? Article 16, authorize transfers to and expenditures from the Facilities Reserve Fund. Shall the town authorize the school committee to transfer up to $50,000 from the available fund balances to the Facilities Reserve Fund and to expend the Facilities Reserve Fund as needed at the discretion of the school committee? School committee recommends a yes vote.
Article 16.
I'll second. Discussion.
Facility Reserve Fund, what is that again? I'm sorry.
So it's a fund that actually exists, but money's in it could be used, it could have been used for this boiler plant repair or replacement, or it could be used right now. What the facilities committee, school committee is concerned about is the end of life for the roof. And so should there be monies in unexpended fund balances, which depend upon having audit that reflects that. This was the way we thought we could start to build up a capital reserve, if you will, to pay for that roof replacement, which is projected to be about 3 to 5 years.
So is this the article that we probably voted on last year as yes, which caused the situation with the boiler being approved without taxpayer input?
I don't think so.
But the school committee was the group that decided to make that decision, correct?
The boiler?
Yeah.
Yes.
So would it be possible if there was a certain amount, though, that it wouldn't just be at the discretion of the school committee, say 35,000 and above, or some, where it might be a substantial amount that perhaps community input would be valid, or
Steve, you're on the facilities committee, right?
just let's see, we are.
And it sounded like there's still some questions about the whole boiler situation. And I don't know if you felt like you could illuminate anybody here, but
I mean, the decision was made by the school committee
Right.
to move forward with the purchase. There, give some public opinion. By state law, school committee can make those decisions on that. This is, me, this whole warrant article is kind of ahead of itself, because there are no funds that we know of currently in the unexpended fund balance.
it's more that if they show up, that we could use them.
Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of a
Yep.
day. We have negative in the hole already. To think that we're probably gonna go ahead in the next audit is extremely unlikely. But the facilities committee did recommend putting $50,000 aside, which is the right thing to do going forward. Should be part of the regular budget and on a separate one.
Any further discussion? All in favor? And Article 17 establishes a new reserve fund and authorizes transfers to expenditures from the reserve fund. Shall the town authorize the school committee to, one, establish a special education reserve fund for special education costs that are not anticipated budgeted for? Two, transfer up to $50,000 from available fund balances to the school special education reserve fund. And three, expend from the special education reserve fund as needed for the discretion of the school committee. School committee recommends a yes vote.
Make a motion, we approve Article 17 as read.
Second.
And I guess comments, could you explain a little bit about that, what that is?
So one of the largest unknown costs that we face in any given year is the transfer in the student who has significant need. And because those students' IEPs determine what the costs of, or what services we have to provide, it can be a really difficult budget hole to fill partway through a year after we've adopted and approved the budget. So the idea here is not unlike being ready for an unexpected ribbon collapse, it's to have a reserve fund that would help offset the cost of the student moving into the district who has seen.
How would the usage of that fund be tracked as far as a budgeting committee? I mean, would that be brought to the budget next year and saying we moved this much from reserve to cover this? And I guess that would be a concern of mine is once we start putting money into all these accounts, how do we account for that money that's being put aside?
Right, so my understanding is the place that the accounting would show up is in the audit at the end of the school year. If money had been transferred out of those, essentially it's a separate bank account, but whether it's facilities or special ed reserve. The expenditure of which would, though, in the given year that we needed to do it, would be in a school committee meeting. There would be a motion that we're going to move $25,000 out of the reserve fund to offset the costs of unintended.
Thank you.
No public comment
It's over, yes.
is over, but.
I can, at my discretion.
I mean, so. Just to play the devil's advocate here, that you approved the previous article. We're having a conversation as if there are funds in account to use, which we are fairly sure we don't have those funds. And so much to Steve's point, woulda, coulda, shoulda, right? Hindsight being what it is. Why not put this money in budget? Why not face the hard facts? I recognize that the goal was to have a decreased budget. But, if we know that we have to spend money on our facilities, let's just say that and put that in the real budget and not put it in an additional article with unknown funds to talk about transferring without as if we actually knew those funds exist.
I think there's a great conversation to have with the school committee. Because that's really their area. And I think that one of the things we've talked about, and I've heard in comments previously, is it's really a scary budget. I think you said so yourself, without any contingency, it's really a scary thing. And on the other hand, we're also facing a huge amount of money that we didn't plan on and need to spend. So it is that balance. But I think that's a great question to bring to the school committee meeting. And I think it's a really good reason for people to attend school committee meetings before we're at the last minute here.
All of the meetings, and I'm just saying to you, as the budget committee, you also, your voice matters. And so, sure, absolutely, the school committee holds an incredibly weighty responsibility, but so do you in looking at these numbers. And so,
So
there's no good answers.
Yeah, I don't know, Steve, one more, yeah.
Philosophically, are we just playing games?
The comment I was gonna make is that both these articles using to the voter. You have voters that think we put $50,000 here and we put $1,000 there. And more than likely, none of us can say with a guarantee, next year they're gonna be, I thought we put $100,000 away for these things. and it's not gonna happen. That's a worse discussion to have next year than to simply say this is break.
So I guess that was my comment, is we're not actually putting money in here, we're saying if there's any left over. It will go into these funds, which we all know there's a 99.999, 125% chance there's not gonna be any funds left over. And this is really a moot conversation and we're voting on something that won't come to the fund.
But I think the difference between the two articles, one says we already have the reserve created, and if there is money, we're gonna transfer it. And 17 makes it sound like we're creating a whole new
You are,
reserve.
you don't have a special.
Okay, so my comment is in regards to that, I guess, because my concern is that we're caring for a very small population of students. When we potentially are in a situation where if the roof collapse, we don't have an educational opportunity for the 120 or however many students there are in general. So,
Except the special education is federally mandated.
Mhm.
We can't not pay
I'm
for
not
that.
suggesting that we don't fund the special ed, I'm just saying, I
I
don't
hear
know that creating a special fund to only care for that situation, if there is money, because reading this, it makes it sound like we're trying to set aside money,
Mm.
not transfer money if it's left over.
So I think I hear it saying, I guess I'll put to the superintendent about, what your comment on that is.
On the need for or how, so the.
Why the articles are in
The
here, yeah.
article's written the way it is by law. I can't add, what we could add is some explanation. You're allowed for any given article to have an explanation below it, it says, and so we can clarify. I'm not sure where everybody stands, but we can clarify that this doesn't mean that we have $50,000 that we know. We're actually just asking for permission, should the audit show unexpended fund balances, to move this into a reserve.
So if we have two reserve funds, one facility, one special education, and there's $25,000 magically left over, who decides, is the money going in for the building or is it going into the special education fund?
It's a good question. The way these are written, the school committee decides how much to move from the unexpended fund balance into either one of those.
But you don't know if you have unexpended funds until the audit is done. So this could be 2 or 3 years in the future, looking back to this year, and then it's a big mess.
Yeah,
But I think I hear everything what everyone's saying and the concerns. I also see why this is in here,
Yeah.
because if it's there, it needs to be there. If it's not there, then you can't do anything with it. It's, but I think that probably explanation, I don't know if these are just written now, but maybe it's a need to kind of explain to people what that means. The MAC information.
the good thing is that we don't get Article 17 passed, we still have Article 16 where we can put unexpended funds in.
Yeah.
And wouldn't 17 be care for it too? That's also talking about extra funds being used at the discretion of the school committee.
That's for,
But for special education, are you looking at which one, 15?
Well, I know, but it doesn't say that it can't be used for special education.
It's facilities reserve fund, so it can't.
15 is?
Yeah, 16, oh,
So
15.
when that account was established, there would have been, and I don't have the warrant in front of me, there would have been the facility reserve fund can be used for. And so when it got established in the same way that 17, the special ed. It says there the purpose, right? There would have been a purpose statement associated with that facility reserve fund. If that would article been correctly, that determines the use that the school committee wants.
And if I'm correct, it seems like these two, the one that we already have the pros on are both based around situations that arise in a school year that's can't really be anticipated, such as a transferring student or a roof failing. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think the first article about the facilities reserve, from my perspective, was the school committee, I don't think felt, trying to speak for them, that they could put another $50,000 in this budget. In the general, for starting to save towards not only that, but the money ends up in the reserve fund yeah, I'm sorry, in the unexpended fund balance, if we're just talking it into the general fund, let's say we took your idea and put 50,000 in. Since we're not doing the group, we don't have an expense for that. And so we don't have a way to expend it. So then that money sits, but that where it goes at the end of a fiscal year is back into the unexpended fund balance. So in some ways, it ends up in exactly the same place. The difference being, once it's in that unexpended fund balance, we have to wait for our audit to know that it's still.
So is there a way? If the school committee wanted to add $50,000 to be set aside for future roof repairs? For it actually to be available for future roof repairs?
I'm not happy with that. I think it needs to be an article, it really does need to say, we are gonna, it might show up in the budget. As was suggested, but it would still then have to be an article that says from the general fund, $50,000 could be placed into the facilities of the capital reserve fund. But I'm not positive on how that wording works out, but it's something, there would still probably still be a set more people to authorize saving, if you will, that money.
One last question, up to $50,000, I'm assuming that is a cap, not a per year amount?
That's a cap.
Further discussion?
I'm just a little confused with tracking this, if and when it happens and all this, and audits are years behind, and it just seems really kind of ludicrous.
Yeah. It's ludicrous.
But we have to have the article by law. This is,
If we were to set aside any money from an unexpended fund balance, we would have to have this article approved by the. If we don't have this article approved, and
Can't
there's
even
an
do that,
unexpended fund
yes.
balance, it can't be transferred. The school committee does not authorize the transfer to the facilities.
All right.
Yeah, as long as I've been on the committee, we haven't found any extra money yet, so.
But when it happens, you'll be sorry.
If we did, I'd rather pay off that debt service and get out some of that interest.
All right, so we'll do a vote, all in favor, approving Article 17 as written? Okay, all opposed. So school budget committee recommends a no vote on Article 17. All right, that looks like that's it for school budget. So on the municipal. Thank God. All right, moving on, and we start with Article 6, and Dave, that's because Article 1 through 5 are.
Setting up the meeting.
I always get the explanation, that was always one.
So I don't get, you know what, from people that might be watching from home, because they couldn't hear all the conversation back here, I'll stand over here. Article 1 is to elect a moderator. Article 2 are all the candidates for the various elected positions. Article 3 is the school validation vote. Budget vote, where you approve what you approved at the previous meeting. Article 4 are amendments to the land use ordinance, and Article 5 are carry forwards of dog money and conservation commission grant funds and blah, blah, blah. So Article 6 is where the appropriation of money comes into play.
All right.
And there are also other articles after the last one you have tonight, after 17, that, you know, talk about interest rates, alewives, snowmobile money, blah, blah. But these are the articles that are required to have budget committee recommendations.
Alrighty. So starting with Article 6, to see what sum the town will vote to raise and appropriate municipal administration and finance. But select board recommends amount of $730,990.
Make a motion to approve Article 6 in red.
Discussion? All in favor? Article 7, to see what sum the town will vote to raise and appropriate municipal protection. Select board recommends amount of $470,000, $980.
Make a motion.
Moved, second.
Sure.
Sorry, said it once. Any discussion? All in favor? Article 8, see what sum the town will vote to raise and appropriate municipal town office building. Select board recommends $36,976.
The motion to approve Article 8
Second.
as written.
All in favor? Article 9, to see what sum the town will vote to raise and appropriate municipal contingency. Select board recommends $10,000.
Make a motion to approve.
Any discussion? All in favor? Sorry, Don, I don't mean to rush you over there. Article 10, to see what sum the town will vote to raise and appropriate for municipal CEO code enforcement. Enforcement, right?
Code
Assessing.
enforcement officer.
Officer and assessing.
Yep.
Select board recommends $104,012.
Make a motion, we approve Article 10.
Second.
Second. Discussion?
Yeah, the budget summary I have from a past meeting showed for the CEO 61,512. Now it's 104,12.
You have to add it in the next page, which is assessing as well.
Oh, okay,
CEO and assessing.
and assessing, okay.
Like great raise for him.
And hopefully, John, that adds up to 112.
Coming very close.
That's very close. Okay, good.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor? Article 11, to see what sum the town will vote to raise appropriate for municipal public works. Select board recommends $1,525,258.
The motion, we approve Article 11.
Second.
Discussion?
I'll make a comment. I'm surprised that we kept that as low as we did. So great job on that. Kudos.
Right,
Yeah,
all in favor? See what sum the town will vote to raise appropriate for municipal boards and committees. Select board recommends amount of $14,184.
The motion, we approve Article 12.
Second. It went down.
It went down. All right, any discussion? All in favor? Article 13, to see what sum the town will vote to raise and appropriate for municipal support. Select board recommends $28,205.
Make a motion to pass 13 as read.
Second.
Discussion?
Like that.
Us. All in favor? See what sum the town will vote to raise and appropriate for the capital improvement fund. Which. Okay, so, capital improvement proposes $218,900. Select board recommends $50,000 for the fire truck fund, $150,000 for road improvements, $5,000 for solar array equipment, $10,000 for harbor improvements, and $3,900 for SCBA cylinder replacement fund at the fire department.
Make a motion, we approve Article 14.
Any discussion on that one? All right, all in favor? Article 15, to see what sum the town will vote to raise and appropriate for debt service. Select board recommends $19,000.
Make a motion to accept 15 as read.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? We have already made recommendations on Article 16. Let's get the select board to read on this. Article 17, to see what sum the town will vote to appropriate revenues and unassigned fund balance to reduce property tax assessment for the 2026-2027 fiscal year. We've already made recommendations. Did we already make our recommendations?
No, apparently somebody neglected to
Someone's doing our job for us, huh? We should be contrary. So select board recommends $1,804,252. Second.
Second.
Discussion.
Can we reduce it just by $1?
Just
That would make your taxes go up.
No, yours particularly.
I withdraw that.
All in favor? All right. Nice work, folks.
So what's the mill rate then?
Currently,
Yeah.
9.4.
Oh,
Yeah,
That's the current.
right, because our assessments went way up, so you have to drop your mill rate.
We don't know what the taxable valuation for 2026 will be. We're out conducting inspections currently. We don't have the final numbers from the 5-town CSD. Or obviously the voters have it. You can anticipate that the mill rate will increase.
Right.
In case there was anybody had any doubt in your mind. The county budget assessment to Lincolnville went up 19.72%.
All right, I will, do any further business we need to
I
discuss?
would like to make just one comment for the select board and also the town management. Especially on this municipal budget, job well done. I was expecting that to be a lot higher than it was last year. Very well kept in check, so thank you very much. for your hard work.
And the
You're
school
welcome.
board.
Don't get used to it.
I can't even imagine how you went through all of that, making the decisions, the hard decisions that you had to make. So thank you for all the time that you put into it. Keeping the kids' interests at heart, so. thank you.
That was a million decisions you guys have
Yeah.
made. All right, I will entertain a motion to
Motion to adjourn.
adjourn. Do we have a motion?
We have a motion.
All right, any discussion? All in favor? All right, that's good work. Oh.
thank you.
Yeah.